Ms. Walden, you and Gary Newman, in building 20th Century Fox Television into a leading supplier of TV programming, have developed a reputation for being a creative haven and attracting a number of top writers to the studio. What are you offering creatives that the other studios are not?
We're very committed to maintaining 20th's position and brand as, first and foremost, a content company. While we are developing and have a greater communication with our consumers than we ever have, our primary job is the creation of content, and we still believe that the best route to that is starting with the best, the brightest, the most creative, the most adventurous creative minds. And to continue to be a magnet for people like that, we have to offer people creative freedom. We don't only supply our sister company, FBC. We're still, pretty much now the only studio that has a vertically aligned network, but still remains in production and in business with every broadcast network and many cable networks. And I think, again, that's a big draw. Creative individuals don't want to feel forced to go to one company. They don't want to feel like they have to bastardize or manipulate an idea that might be appropriate for ABC, NBC, or CBS so that they can fulfill some corporate mandate to bring shows to Fox. So I would have to say it's twofold, and Gary and I talk about this quite a bit, which is we are interested in swinging for the fences. We're not looking for the next Law and Order or the next CSI, although that would be fantastic and no one would turn that kind of successful opportunity down. What we look to from our creators are the big ideas: Prison Break, 24, Family Guy. The kinds of ideas that make us nervous when we hear them are typically the ones that grow into our most successful brands and have the longest lives in our organization.
As part of that creative haven approach, you and Gary Newman also developed the Fox 21 model, described as a production house devoted to empowering writers to produce their passion projects by rethinking conventional television production economics. Can you explain the Fox 21 model in greater detail for us?
Sure. We created Fox 21 in response to basically the times in our business. The economy is bad. People are struggling. Production costs escalate annually, completely out of whack with advertising revenue and what networks are going to be able to pay studios to produce. And for us, it was a question of how do we create an environment where shows cost less, but the quality doesn't suffer. And for us, the easiest way to achieve that was to set up an organization separate from the big studio where, it is not uncommon, in the same week to be producing sort of feature-size episodes of shows like 24 and Prison Break. How do you get the same organization to be able to be forward-thinking and facile enough to produce things on a much more aggressive scale? And, again, for us, we looked at a company within the News Corporation umbrella, and that's Fox Searchlight, the feature company, who have very strict rules about what they are prepared to pay any participant in a feature, directors, writers, actors. They're willing to get behind incredibly risky projects, but it's all done at an incredibly aggressive economic model. And that's really what Fox 21 is. It is bigger, better ideas for less costs.
One of the many firsts you and Gary are credited with is the practice of releasing television series on DVD, something you first did with the series 24 at the end of its first season, and which was also cited as a primary reason for the series' spectacular success in season 2. Was it difficult to convince the studio and your producers to release that first DVD?
We were obviously incredibly on board with the idea of releasing that first season. Everybody here believed in the show. Everybody here knew that the economics were not particularly feasible on a going-forward basis. The network paid a much lower license fee for 24 than it did other dramas because of the fact that it was so serialized, the likelihood of them being able to repeat it were very slim. So we used a reduced license fee. We had very strong international, and to this day the show is an incredibly strong international performer for the studio. But for us, it was the pure survival of this series. What could we do that would enable us to produce a very expensive show on sort of a smaller scale at the network? And the idea to release it in that first season came out of a brainstorming meeting about just how do we save this show. And we went to the network and proposed it, and really the company that had the greatest issue with it was the network. You know, their relationship with their affiliates was such that they, prior to 24, exclusively had the exhibition rights for a show for 4 seasons. And so, you know, it was a huge precedent for them. And I really credit Gail Berman, who felt as passionately about the show as we did, for being bold enough to say, I'm going to go to the affiliates. I'm going to try and convince them that this is the show that's worth, you know, making an exception. And obviously it led to an industry-wide practice of releasing these shows after the first season. But, you know, 24 was the perfect vehicle to lead the way. It's a show that, you know, once you get started, it's so addictive. I cannot tell you the number of people who have said to me, thanks to you, I lost an entire weekend. You know, I started watching the 24 DVD on Friday, and, you know, I wrapped the 24 episodes sometime late on Sunday night. But it was a perfect way to prime people for the second season. And the word of mouth and the way the press responded, it was a bet that paid off.
Under your watch, 20th Century Fox Television was also the first studio to launch a mobile entertainment unit, created the first mobile extension 24 Conspiracy, based on the hit TV series 24, as well as a number of other mobile extensions for your top TV franchises. What prompted you to take that first leap of faith to the mobile platform, and how much emphasis is now being put on building brand extensions for the mobile platform?
Well, I would have to say that our primary sort of business here is creating brands. You look at our most successful brands in 24, Family Guy, The Simpsons, Prison Break, sort of Next Generation Down, Prison Break, American Dad, Futurama. For us, the goal is create an entertainment vehicle that can migrate from distribution platform to distribution platform, to be exposed to as many eyeballs as possible, to create as much viewer loyalty and awareness as possible. So for us, being at the forefront of mobile, digital, home entertainment, DVD, international, all of these platforms are critical to us, and we spend a lot of time analyzing how we take, in particular, successful network television shows, but for us it is more brand-worthy shows, and expose them in a very sort of modern way, which is not just focusing primarily on that network first-run opportunity.
Regarding the broadband video and mobile video platforms, are these more promotion and marketing tools for the studio, or can you really generate real revenue as an exhibition platform?
Well, I would have to say that right now, with the exception of the international revenue that comes in and home entertainment, really all of these ancillary revenue streams have been driven primarily by our desire to expose shows to as many people as possible, hoping to bring those new viewers and new fans back to the network run of our shows. So to the extent that, you know, we've experimented in these various platforms, up till now it's been purely promotional. Along with being opportunities for promotion, there are opportunities to experiment with future revenue streams. And, you know, again, we are interested in exposing our shows in as smart a way as possible to maximum audience.